Hello, everyone. Thank you for staying that late. I hope I will deliver my presentation and keep you awake until the end of this wonderful day. So, starting my presentation, just let me briefly introduce myself to you. I am Marek Miller. I represent Google News Lab. I'm a Google News Lab teaching fellow. My background is journalism, 15 years of it. I started years ago back in a regional publishing house called Polska Press Group. For most of this time, I've been writing different stories for main publications around Poland about media and journalism, like Press, the biggest media monthly in Poland, virtualnemedia.pl. And for a while, I've been also the editor-in-chief of Prasa Info, which was the biggest informative site for publishers and journalists in Poland. After some time, I went on my own. I became independent. I cooperated with a number of different publishers around Poland. I cooperated with a number of international news media institutions, such as INMA, International News Media Association, GEN, Global Editors Network, One IFRA. I also studied for a little while at Poynter's Institute in Florida. But I'm here to speak a little bit about the times that we live in, and they are extremely interesting and dangerous. We live in times when we have to question simply everything. We need to think very thoroughly before we hit our share button. We have to verify everything twice or thrice before we share anything or write about anything. No matter if it's our idols speaking, such as Cristiano Ronaldo or Leonardo DiCaprio sharing fake pictures or 3-year-old pictures, just like they did recently with the burning Amazonia. Or if it's sources that imitate the real ones in a very close way, such as the CNN Politics 2020 profile that was suggesting that the fire of Notre Dame Cathedral was an act of terrorism. Clicking into the source, seeing that the Twitter profile was created on the day of the fire, would reveal instantly that the information was fake. Or information like this one, pretty close to real one, or very funny one. Raise your hands up who's come across this one. I nearly fell for this. So President Trump supposedly calling President of Italy mozzarella instead of mattarella. Something like this happens, but we have to be extremely cautious about it. Or no matter how lifelike the videos or images we come across, they look like. Those are just some examples from my website, thispersondoesnotexist.com. I encourage you to go there and see how much artificial intelligence can right now create lifelike looking videos or images. Or how perfect and close to reality the sentences and whole texts are written, like in the case of newsyoucan'tuse.com website, where you can check by yourselves whether you can distinguish the real information from the one written by AI. By the way, the recent promotion of the GPT-2 algorithm, if you ever wondered how and what would Elon Musk say opening today's Outriders stage, don't worry anymore, I checked it. This is what he would say, this is what he actually said it. Believe it or not, this was generated in just a matter of 3 seconds. So, events of disinformation, they may vary a lot. Sometimes those are very funny and entertaining situations. Some, like for example, media in Northern Korea that believed that Kim Jong-un was supposedly chosen the sexiest man alive. Or some situations may be much more serious, like the one that was revealed just a couple of days ago with 265 coordinated fake local news websites. We are not talking here about bots, we are talking about fake news websites that were serving certain interests. Or real effects such as the drop in shares of the prices of UK Metro Bank that happened in May this year. Those effects are varying. And thus, the importance of journalism in today's landscape, and journalists who are even more than ever the gatekeepers, should be the gatekeepers of information. Those are the ones that should get into the roots of journalism, just like Outriders do, to think about the 5 key journalism questions and give and provide the verified and true stories to the audiences. This is the responsibility journalists have nowadays. Unfortunately, the reality looks a little bit different, and still KPIs, goals, they kind of make journalists lose from their side what is most important. Recently, when I was doing a tour around Central and Eastern Europe, and I'm not going to give the name of the newsroom that I heard this story, I'm just going to share it a little bit anonymously. But I heard a story about a newsroom that its sports section had separate meetings that whenever they were missing the goal for the end of the month, they were coming up with fake stories in order to meet those goals. Can you imagine nowadays people thinking about some strange and fake stories just to meet the goals? This is unfortunately an example of a reality that we also live today. And this is another example. So just a couple of months ago, again, when I was traveling through different countries around the Central and Eastern Europe, this is a real situation that I came across in one of the biggest newsrooms. In the central point of the newsroom, it is written on the wall, "Journalism is printing what someone else does not want to get printed. Everything else is public relations." Signed, George Orwell. A very motivational quote for every single journalist working for this organization. And everything would be super cool if not for the fact that George Orwell never said it. So this is us. This is us journalists who even don't know how to verify a simple quote and see whether it is true or not. The stories are endless. I'm not going to use all of your time to tell of those stories. There's another example coming from Ukraine. A great provocation last year was done that a fake and just made up story was sent to some of the media in southern Ukraine. Hundreds of them believed the story that was sent just by one sentence email coming from nasa.nasaukraine@gmail.com address. And hundreds of media believed in the story about supposedly some weather phenomena threat that was threatening people living in southern Ukraine. The provocation was, of course, later on explained, but this is the reality, this is the times that we live in. Unfortunately, still the stakes is very, very high, and this is something that journalists are losing from their side. The trust in media, it's falling, of course, but there is still some trust left, and I believe this is worth fighting for. What you see here on this graph, this is just the past 20 years of what happened to the trust in media in the United States. If we were to look further to the left, in the past 50 years, the trust in media fell from 72% to 41% nowadays. The situation in Europe is no different. This is the latest result coming from the latest research coming from Reuters, which says, among many of the results, that in Poland, 1 out of 2 people don't believe media. In Czech Republic, it's already 1 out of 3. The situation is very, very hard. So one of the positive things about what's happening in the landscape nowadays is the huge and rapid growth of fact-checking websites, and this is super, super cool. So we've got many examples of different fact-checking sites. There is factcheck.org, there is snopes.com, there is PolitiFact, there is Washington Post fact checker, many of those. I'm not going to spend too much time on mentioning those, but in my opinion, as much as they are helpful, they are not going to be the final solution to the problem, because look what happens. This is not exploring America and discovering like great things, but this should be pretty well known that memories stick. Memories that especially are close to our beliefs, they stick even more. So even though if the fake news becomes debunked and proven that it was wrong, the memory about it, it still sticks in the minds of many people who that are exposed to that kind of news. There are many researchers already proving this fact. And a proof and an evidence to this situation is also the latest Nancy Pelosi case, which proves that this is I'm pretty sure you heard the story. So this is a cheap fake. The leader of the opposition in the United States had her video slowed down by 3% that left her words still recognizable, but they made her appear like she was under an influence of alcohol or drugs or something like this, and this made her probably made her not be able to run for a candidate, to run for a president in the upcoming elections in the United States. So what can we do with what's happening right now? We can, of course, and we should, I believe, slow down, we should question, and we should learn how to think critically. One of the attitudes and one of the approaches that can be done is the proper education. There is a reason behind the fact that Finland is probably the most resistant country towards fake news. More than 76% of people already know how to behave and distinguish fake news from real ones in Finland. And the reason for it is, of course, the correct media literacy program and the proper education. And education is something that I do right now, and not only me. In Google News Lab, we are a team of 20 journalists located all over the world. Our role is to go into the newsrooms, into the universities, talk to journalists, to journalism students, to representatives of NGOs. We teach about many things regarding digital journalism. Fact-checking and verification is, of course, one of them. We speak about artificial intelligence in newsrooms. We speak about gathering information with different online tools. We speak about video, about immersive storytelling, and so on and so on. Whatever there is that raises discussion, we try to be there and we try to teach and also learn on the go. So this is my past 8 months. During this time, I visited 17 countries. I conducted more than 100 workshops and trained more than 3,000 people so far, and just multiply it by 20 by all the team that is in Google News Lab. So what do we do? What do I do as well? I teach people how to recognize different types of disinformation. I teach them what is the difference between misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. So basically the difference is within the intentions. I speak about it during my workshops, which I welcome you tomorrow. I teach about source verification. So there was an interesting story in the United States earlier this year when somebody, for some reason, wanted people to believe that one of the American football teams was changing its name to Red Hawks. And for this reason, somebody copied the entire sports section of Washington Post, sports section, the Sports Illustrated and ESPN, just to distribute the false article. So I teach how to recognize the fake source. I teach how to see who registered the website. I show how to see when the website was registered. I show how to track the history of the website, and I also show how to see what kind of discussion the certain web source raises. I also show how to verify the images. So even though if the image is not really manipulated, I always try to make sure that everybody can try and see and search for a different perspective, which is in this case, so two different pictures taken at the same moment. I teach how to do the reverse image search. So even though we as people living in Poland were a very proud nation last year that people in Los Angeles paid a tribute to us by creating the longest flag with their cars ever, just tracking the history of this picture would reveal instantly that this was nothing else but the traffic in Los Angeles during the Thanksgiving Day, and not a tribute to Polish people. I teach how to read metadata and convert the geolocation information into direct addresses. I teach how to track the manipulation within the image. I show how to use different tools to see exactly where and in which places images were manipulated. I talk about manipulated videos, lots of stuff about computer-generated images, about how to see when the video was uploaded to different social video channels, how to do the reverse video search, and how to geolocate the videos to see where they come from. I also talk a lot about the deepfakes threat as well. But this is not the whole part of education that Google News Lab does. Earlier this year, before the European election, together with the International Fact-Checking Network, the website Factcheck EU was created. And this website was a cooperation of 19 news organizations from 13 countries in 11 languages. Those were the fact-checking efforts before the European elections. We try to cooperate on a global level with different fact-checking institutions and activities, and this is, by our meaning, the way we try to elevate the quality journalism globally. We cooperated with First Draft, which is probably the most recognizable group of journalists fighting disinformation. Together with them, we helped them organize different training boot camps for journalists. We did it 4 times this year. It happened in Brussels, in Frankfurt, in Milan, and in Madrid. We also prepare community tools for fact-checking community, such as Fact Check Explorer. So if you, for example, search for some information that was suspicious to you, you can use it and get in a result results coming from fact-checking institutions. And also the upcoming, in this part of the world, solution, it's coming to Europe in first quarter next year, the Fact Check tag, which will tag proper information directly after you do the search within Google. A great example when education and partnership can work wonders is our last effort. It was premiered last Friday in Paris and this very Monday in London. This is our latest research, and this is an effect of year-long collaboration of Google News Initiative with London School of Economics. So we tracked how important artificial intelligence should be for journalists and for newsrooms. Good results is that robots are not going to take journalistic jobs, so yay, we can be happy about it. Worst part is that 63% of newsrooms don't have any kind of AI strategy. But regarding the main topic of today's conference, the Outriders stage, there is a strong interest in collaboration between newsrooms. So this is something we should be in particular very, very happy about. The partnerships can work wonders, and of course Outriders is also another example. Google News Lab is happy to support independent journalism, and we also provide the resources for journalists. So if you go to the website g.co/newstraining, you will be able to follow 60 or more lessons regarding digital journalism, simple, easy tools that can help you thrive and survive in the digital era. And wrapping my story up, because I'm almost out of time, still 60 seconds left, I just wanted to leave you with a quote coming from Thomas Jefferson, who said that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Yes, we need to be very vigilant, and this is what I always teach during my trainings. Of course, there is technology, there are tools, there are things that can help us recognize what is true, what is not, but if we don't stay critical enough, those tools are basically just for nothing. And staying vigilant and critical in this very situation, despite the fact that this quote has been used on many merchandising products all over the world. Unfortunately, this quote has also been badly attributed. This one was said by John Philpott Curran, who used to be a quite well-known Irish politician. So let's stay vigilant, let's stay critical, and let's verify the sources. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you tomorrow.